Okay, we are about to fundamentally shift your understanding of modern anthropology. Welcome to today's explainer. We're embarking on an analytical journey that takes us from the study of ancient, isolated cultures straight into the chaotic heart of our modern digital existence. If you thought anthropology was just about unearthing old pottery or, observing distant villages, well, get ready for a massive paradigm shift.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, beyond ancient tribes. Second, bridging the science divide. Third, the actor network theory. Fourth, biology meets culture. Fifth, techno-anthropology in action. And finally, we'll wrap up with the new digital society.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, Beyond Ancient Tribes, a Paradigm Shift. So let's start by looking in the rearview mirror. Back in the 1970s, anthropology was heavily focused on small, homogeneous tribes. The absolute gold standard of the field was participant observation, basically embedding yourself to study a relatively uniform group of people. But today, the 21st century reality forces us to study incredibly complex, urbanized societies that are deeply embedded in the information age. I mean, you simply cannot study a globally connected digital citizen using the exact same tools you'd use for an isolated village. The dynamic interconnectedness of our modern world literally broke the old models.
And honestly, scholars saw this wall approaching way before we actually hit it. Way back in 1961, S.N. Eisenstadt warned that traditional techniques developed for social anthropology just wouldn't cut it for an increasingly complex modern world. He essentially foresaw that the old toolkit was too limited to dissect the tangled webs of modern urban and technological life. It was a real call to arms for the discipline to invent totally new ways of understanding ourselves.
Moving on to Section 2, Bridging the Science Divide, the birth of STS.
For decades, there was this intense war of legitimacy in academia. Hard sciences like physics, chemistry, biology, they were seen as the sole possessors of objective truth, right? Meanwhile, social sciences were often criticized as being too subjective. Well, to bridge that deep divide, Science and Technology Studies, or STS, emerged in the 1980s. And STS is a radical philosophical shift. Instead of just passively accepting science and tech as neutral tools, STS examines them as deeply social and material activities that fundamentally dictate the shape of our daily lives. Essentially, STS researchers begin studying scientists and engineers the way old anthropologists studied tribes, looking at the laboratory as a cultural space that creates the very technologies governing our society.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, the actor network theory, expanding the cast. Developed by influential thinkers like Bruno Latour and John Law under that STS umbrella, actor network theory, or ANT, proposes a pretty stunning idea. It suggests humans are no longer the only actors on the social stage. It completely shatters our ego. ANT moves us from just studying human relationships to mapping an entire network where objects and technologies actually have agency, influencing us just as much as we influence them. Think about it this way. In a modern network, humans are just one node. Animals, physical infrastructure, invisible cultural meanings, and technological artifacts like your smartphone, they're all active participants. When your phone's notification pings and you immediately stop mid-sentence to look at it, the phone is acting upon you. It is actively shaping social behavior. So modern anthropology must now study this entire, vibrant, non-human cast of characters if it wants to truly understand modern life. Let's look at how this plays out biologically in Section 4, Biology Meets Culture, the biocultural approach. Through this lens, we can see exactly how sociocultural environments dynamically interact with our very DNA. This isn't just about culture as some abstract concept. It's about how culture literally writes itself into our biology. Researchers are now integrating demographic traits like mortality rates, genetic markers like mitochondrial DNA, and sociocultural factors like agricultural history to see the full holistic picture of human adaptation. You simply cannot separate the human body from human culture anymore. Let me give you a concrete, absolutely fascinating example from Livingston in 1958 that shows this biological and cultural network in action. Step 1. A cultural shift happens as human populations expand their agricultural practices in West Africa. Step 2. This specific environmental change creates the perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes, leading to a massive rise in malaria. And Step 3. This newly introduced disease acts as an agent of natural selection. It physically acts upon human populations, biologically triggering the evolution of the sickle cell trait to fight the disease. It's a perfect loop. Culture alters biology step by step. Now, let's pivot to the tech side. Section 5, Techno-anthropology in action, blending humanities and engineering. So think about a simple, everyday Facebook login screen. To a techno-anthropologist, this isn't just a few lines of code or a basic web page. No, these digital gateways are literally the new tribal borders of our society. They are the strict rituals we absolutely must pass through to participate in modern social life. They dictate who belongs, who is excluded, and exactly how your identity is verified. Technoanthropology studies these mundane interfaces as profound cultural artifacts. And to study these new borders, you need a totally new type of scholar. Torben Elgard Jensen explains that students in this new hybrid field might spend one semester in a biology lab doing hands-on experiments and the very next semester designing software artifacts. By the time they graduate, they aren't just sociologists and they aren't just software engineers. They become these critical mediators. They stand right between complex technoscience and the general public, translating the profound impacts of technology on our daily lives. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 6, the new digital society, democracy and control 2.0. We are right in the middle of witnessing a massive structural shift in political behavior. Traditional direct democracy requires your individual physical participation, but technology has birthed what's called liquid democracy. Citizens are now using open-source proxy software, like the liquid feedback system used by the German Pirate Party, to participate in real-time policymaking. The software itself becomes a political actor. It mediates, it protects privacy, and it facilitates a continuous stream of democratic input that physically just wouldn't be possible otherwise. And this new reality plays out across all levels of society. Software programs like Generation Citizen are actively teaching youth action civics online, directly changing political behavior. Over in Thailand, the forum pantip.com uses algorithms that automatically replace hate speech with cute cartoon icons, literally creating new social norms by conditioning users on what is and isn't acceptable. Meanwhile, Facebook's photo DNA acts as an automated tireless border guard against illicit material. The tech isn't passive anymore, guys. It is actively policing our culture. As anthropology evolves from studying isolated human tribes to mapping this vast interconnected web of humans, biology, and machines, what scholars like to call ontological pluralism, I want to leave you with one final thought. Take a hard look at the device you are watching this on right now. In our modern network, where algorithms shape our news, dictate our social norms, and even mediate our democracies, are we simply using the technology, or is the technology actively acting upon us? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the networks around you.